Welcome back to Dieu Han RV. Before we begin, we wish you peace, health, and strength wherever you're watching from. Life can be full of storms, but we hope our stories bring you comfort and courage. In today's episode, Dieu Han returns to a place that once felt like home. But memories can be both warm and heavy. Are you ready to walk with her again? The city hadn't changed much, yet every corner felt different. Dieu Han walked through the familiar street with hesitant steps. Her heart beat faster as the old sign of the bridal studio came into view. She stood in front of the glass door, remembering laughter, friends, and a version of herself that once dreamed big dreams. Could she still belong here? The smell of fresh fabric, the soft hum of sewing machines, the sparkle of wedding gowns in the light, it all welcomed her like an old friend. Inside the studio, a few workers looked up in surprise. Dieu Han smiled gently. She wasn't here to explain, just to remember and quietly find her place again. But was the peace real or just a fragile illusion? She walked over to her old station, the corner by the window where she used to sketch dresses and dream of happy brides. Her hands touched the edge of the table, memories flooding in like waves. The mirror still hung there, catching her reflection, but the woman staring back wasn't the same. Could this place heal her, or remind her of what she lost? A coworker approached softly and greeted her with a cautious smile. They exchanged few words, but it was enough. The silence between them carried stories no one dared to retell. Everyone had questions, but Dieu Han's eyes asked them not to. This return wasn't for explanation, it was for peace, or at least the illusion of it. If you're still with us, now is the perfect time to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more. Dieu Han's journey is just beginning again, and there are shadows waiting ahead. Your support keeps her story alive. Don't miss what happens next. Dieu Han stood quietly, listening to the distant laughter of a new bride trying on her gown. The sound was sweet, familiar, and yet strange. She remembered once dreaming of that same laughter, that same joy. Now, it felt like something far away. Was it still within reach, or had her path changed forever? A small note rested on the table, handwritten from weeks ago. It read, "One day, we'll laugh here again." Dieu Han blinked, unsure if it was hers or someone else's. But the message found its place in her heart. Maybe this studio wasn't just a workplace. Maybe it still held hope, like fabric waiting to be sewn into something new. Dieu Han stepped out of the wedding studio, the sun still bright above her. The day wasn't over. She tucked the cash payment neatly into her bag, tightened her shoelaces, and began walking. There was no time to rest. Another job waited, a small pineapple farm where she could buy fresh fruit cheap and sell it later. Her steps were steady as she walked past quiet homes and familiar corners. The weight of life hadn't crushed her, it only made her quieter, more determined. Dieu Han didn't speak much these days. She let her effort do the talking, and each job she picked up was one step closer to stability. The small pineapple farm lay outside town. The owner recognized her from the last time and waved. She nodded politely, took the rough gloves offered, and walked toward the rows of green. The air was humid and thick with the scent of fruit, but she welcomed it. This was honest work. The sun made her sweat instantly, but she didn't flinch. She knelt, picked the first pineapple, and examined its skin. Not too ripe, just right. She placed it in a large basket. The thorns scratched her arms, but she kept going. She was used to discomfort, it no longer scared her. Her hands moved quickly, her eyes scanning each plant with quiet precision. Others might have seen a tired woman, but Dieu Han was not weak. She was focused, alert, calculating. Each pineapple she chose would later help her feed herself, maybe even put away savings for the future. She stopped only once to drink from a shared water jug, wiped her face with her sleeve, and went back in. Around her, workers chatted and joked. She just smiled politely. There wasn't time to linger. She still had to carry these pineapples into town and find a place to resell them. By the time the basket was full, her back throbbed, but she thanked the owner, handed him the agreed amount of money, and tied her goods tightly with rope. No shortcuts, no tricks. Dieu Han believed in earning every coin through effort, and she did it without complaint. As she walked back toward the town, the bag of pineapples weighed heavily on her shoulder, but her steps were firm. With each turn of the road, she imagined what this small profit could mean: milk, rice, rent, maybe even a second-hand toy for Tom. Hope was heavy, too. At Dieu Han's house, the sound of wood being unloaded filled the front yard as then directed the workers. He had ordered high-quality planks and beams, enough to fix the old roof and reinforce the walls. This wasn't just a repair job, it was something personal. Every nail, every piece of timber, he imagined it holding a future. The sun was harsh, but then didn't stop. Sweat soaked through his shirt, yet he continued sanding the wood. He had bought the best planks he could afford, determined to build something solid for Dieu Han. This wasn't just about walls or roofs, it was about safety, about belonging. With every piece of wood he shaped, then imagined where Dieu Han would one day place her belongings. A corner for her books, a space for her smile to rest. He didn't say these thoughts aloud, but they guided his hands, steady and full of silent devotion. He paused only to drink water, wiping dust from his face. The yard was quiet, only the chirping of birds and the scrape of his tools. Then wasn't in a rush. He wanted to do it right. Every joint, every beam, it was a promise. He remembered the first time he saw Dieu Han laugh. It was short, quiet, but it lit something in him. He wasn't building this house just for comfort. He was trying to build a moment where she could laugh like that again, without fear. The boards were heavy, but then lifted them alone. He didn't call anyone for help. This was something he needed to do by himself for her, and maybe for himself too. Maybe he believed that love wasn't always said. Sometimes, it was just built, quietly. His hands ached, but he welcomed the pain. It made everything feel real. He wasn't a rich man. He had no fancy words, but he had 2 hands, a quiet heart, and enough love to lay down piece by piece in this place. The sun moved slowly overhead. Shadows shifted across the half-built walls, then stood back and looked at his progress. It wasn't much, but to him, it was a beginning. A quiet beginning for something he dared not name. He remembered how Dieu Han flinched in her sleep, haunted by memories. If building this space could bring her even a moment of peace, it would be worth every splinter, every drop of sweat. That was all he wanted, to give her peace. A neighbor passed by and asked if he needed help, then shook his head gently, smiling. No, thank you. This wasn't just carpentry. It was confession. And sometimes, love needs to be whispered in wood, not spoken aloud. Because sometimes, the bravest kind of love is the quiet one. The kind that builds, not demands, that waits, not rushes, and as then walked away from the half-finished home. He knew this was how he loved her, not with fireworks but with shelter. At home, Mrs. Han was busy folding a delicate white dress she had just bought. She called her foster son over and smiled warmly. This would be the perfect gift to impress Dieu Han. Maybe this could help him open his heart. She believed in fate, and this dress, she said, was a blessing. The young man's smile was strained. He took the dress reluctantly, eyes flickering between the fabric and his mother's hopeful face. He wanted to scream, to say this wasn't him, but instead, he nodded quietly. Sure, I'll go now, he replied, voice flat. After she left the room, he stayed frozen in place. His fingers clutched the dress tightly, heart racing. He didn't want to see Dieu Han, didn't want to play this fake game. But the dress, it spoke to something hidden in him. Suddenly, he shut the door, locked it, and placed the dress on the chair. His hands shook not from fear, but from something deeper. He wanted to wear it, just once, just to know how it felt. He walked over to the mirror, holding the dress against himself. His breath caught as he tilted his head, just slightly. A flicker of recognition crossed his eyes, something truer than he had admitted in a long time. He pulled the blinds down and turned away from the mirror. Step by step, he approached the chair again. The fabric was light, delicate. It didn't belong to him, but it called to him in ways nothing else ever had. He slipped the dress over his shirt, clumsily adjusting the straps. The fabric hugged his frame awkwardly, but in the mirror, something shifted. He didn't see shame. He saw relief. But the moment broke when he heard his mother's voice outside. Panic returned like a wave. He tore the dress off and hid it under his coat. His breathing was sharp. He couldn't let her know. Not yet. He hopped onto his electric scooter, holding the dress box awkwardly between his knees. The sun was strong, but he wore sunglasses, checking his reflection in the mirror. The quiet buzz of the scooter contrasted with the chaos in his head. He muttered, "Why am I even doing this?" as he took a sharp turn towards Johan's place. The path leading to Johan's house was narrow and uneven. The boy scowled as branches scratched his shoulders. "Seriously, who lives in a place like this?" he muttered. He hated how rural everything looked. But just when he was about to turn back, the sound of hammering made him freeze. Someone was working ahead. He peeked between the branches and nearly gasped. A man, shirtless under the sun, was smoothing a plank with practiced hands. The sweat on his back shimmered like something out of a dream. It was then the boy's breath caught. He didn't expect someone this rugged. Flushed, he quickly ducked behind a nearby bush. His heart raced, not from fear but from a thrill he hadn't felt in ages. He fished out a compact mirror, checked his reflection, and reapplied his favorite coral lipstick. Then, fixing his hair and shirt, he took a deep breath. "Okay, you got this," he whispered to himself, patting his cheeks lightly. He stood up slowly, brushed off some leaves, and put on his most effortless walk. But inside, his heart was pounding wildly. Then hadn't even seen him yet, and already he was flustered. As he approached, then finally looked up, their eyes met briefly, then gave a polite nod and returned to his work. The boy blinked, caught off guard. That reaction was anticlimactic. He expected more. Still, he didn't give up. "Hi, I'm delivering something for Johan," he said, stepping closer. His voice trembled slightly, then nodded again, this time standing up straight. "She's not home yet. You can leave it there," he replied calmly. The boy looked at the wooden planks spread across the yard. "Are you building something?" he asked, hoping to keep the conversation going, then wiped his forehead and said, "Just fixing the place." Helping her out. His tone was casual, but it made the boy's stomach flip. Something about Than's quiet strength stirred something deep inside him. It wasn't just attraction, it was admiration. "Do you do this often?" he asked, trying not to sound too eager. "Only when I care," Than said simply, returning to work. Behind the leafy bush near Johan's house, the boy took a deep breath and looked at Than. "My real name is Trin," he said softly. "I'm not like others expect." Then blinked, confused. "I think you're misunderstanding something," then replied cautiously. "Maybe wait for Johan inside." Trin nodded, stood up, and walked away. But after placing the dress near the door, he slowly returned his steps deliberate, his eyes fixed on Than. Trin sat next to Than once more, pretending to wipe sweat off his brow. "You're very kind," he murmured. Than smiled awkwardly. The sun beat down on them, but Trin held out a small fan and began fanning Than with care. "Don't take this the wrong way," he whispered. "I just want to be near someone who feels real." Then shifted uncomfortably, but didn't move away. In this strange silence, their hands accidentally brushed. Under the shaded tree, Trin leaned in slowly, resting his head gently on Than's shoulder. Than froze. It wasn't anger that filled him, it was fear, confusion, and a strange sadness. He didn't know how to respond. "You don't have to say anything," Trin whispered. "I know I'm not what people want. I just needed to feel seen." Then looked away, and sure. In the background, a soft breeze rustled the leaves. The world had gone strangely quiet, and then came the sound of a gate creaking open. Johan returned, her arms full of fresh pineapples. She paused mid-step, her eyes falling on the two figures lying beneath the tree. Her smile faded. She wasn't angry, just frozen. The sight before her didn't make sense. Than, so dependable, now sitting silently while Trin leaned against him. The wind carried her breath away. Her fingers tightened around the fruit bag. Johan froze as her eyes locked on the scene before her, Than lying beneath the tree, and Trin curled beside him, arms wrapped tight. Her chest tightened. Was it jealousy? Confusion? Betrayal? 1,000 thoughts spun in her mind. She wanted to walk away, but her feet wouldn't move. The man who had always protected her was now holding someone else. And not just someone she didn't even understand. In that moment, Dieu Han realized the past never really leaves. It just waits, quiet and patient, for the right moment to strike. Maybe it wasn't about then or Trin. Maybe it was about how fragile trust truly is. Her hands trembled as she turned away, forcing a smile for no one. Would she ask, confront, or keep this moment buried deep inside? Her silence was loud, but her heart was louder. What did Dieu Han see in that fleeting moment? And what will she do next? Is then hiding something deeper, or was it all just a strange misunderstanding? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dieu Han RV so you won't miss what happens next. Trust us, the story is only getting more dangerous from here.